Female pilot refuses to fly with single dad co-pilot, until he reveals he owns the plane. Captain Emily Carter had always been a perfectionist. A decorated pilot with over a decade of flying experience, she had logged thousands of hours in the cockpit. For her, aviation wasn't just a career, it was a sanctuary. Precision, discipline, and professionalism were her mantra, and she had little patience for anyone who didn't meet her high standards. So, when Emily arrived at Sky High Aviation's private terminal to take command of Flight 782, she was less than thrilled to learn that her co-pilot for the day was none other than Ryan Mitchell, a man with a reputation that preceded him, not entirely for the right reasons. Ryan was a single father of 2 young kids, juggling parenting and work, and while he was considered competent in the air, Emily had heard whispers, "He's distracted. Too soft. Not focused enough for serious flights." She met him in the briefing room. Ryan, mid-30s, with a kind face framed by slightly tousled brown hair and clear green eyes, stood holding his flight bag. He smiled politely, trying to hide the fatigue that came from parenting. "Captain Carter?" he asked, extending a hand. Emily shook it but didn't offer a smile. "Co-pilot, I presume. I've been briefed." Her tone was curt, her gaze scanning his uniform critically. "I prefer things done a certain way. I hope you can keep up." Ryan nodded, undeterred. "Of course, Captain. Safety and precision are my top priorities." Emily didn't reply, choosing instead to turn toward the charts and pre-flight documents. But as they walked toward the jet, she noticed the way Ryan's demeanor subtly exuded calm competence, a quiet assurance that contradicted the warnings she'd received. "Mind if I ask something personal?" Ryan ventured as they climbed aboard. "I've heard you've been flying commercially for a long time. Any particular reason you choose private flights?" Emily raised an eyebrow. "Private flights offer predictability and control. Commercial? Too many variables. Chaos. And I don't have the patience for chaos." Ryan chuckled softly. "I get that. But sometimes chaos brings perspective." Emily glanced at him, intrigued despite herself. There was something in his calm tone, a steadiness that hinted at experiences she didn't yet know. She dismissed the thought, focusing on the cockpit and their pre-flight checklist. The flight started smoothly. Emily's hands were precise on the controls, her eyes scanning the instruments with practiced vigilance. Ryan handled the co-pilot duties efficiently, reading the data, checking weather updates, and communicating with air traffic control. Yet, every time Emily glanced at him, she noticed the subtle distraction, a glance toward the family photos taped inside his flight bag, a small stuffed toy dangling from his gear. Her irritation grew. How can someone fly like that, with children on the brain? She thought. She was about to voice her concerns when Ryan spoke, his tone calm yet firm. "Captain, I understand if you're concerned about distractions. But I assure you, I don't let my personal life interfere with flying. My children make me more responsible, not less." Emily looked at him, her curiosity piqued. She had met many pilots before, but she had never encountered someone whose personal life was so openly intertwined with their professional life, yet it didn't seem to diminish his competence. Minutes passed, and the flight was routine. But as they approached a minor storm cell near the city outskirts, turbulence began to rock the plane. Emily's hands tightened on the controls. "Storm ahead, moderate turbulence," Ryan reported, adjusting the instruments. "Wind shear possible. Recommend ascending to 34,000 feet." Emily hesitated, scanning the radar. "I can handle this," she said, her pride pricking at her ears. But Ryan's calm and precise voice gave her pause. Without another word, she followed his recommendation. The plane stabilized, cutting through the gusts with ease. Emily couldn't deny it, Ryan's input had made a difference. She tried to maintain her critical demeanor, but a flicker of admiration crossed her mind. Hours passed, and the flight continued without incident. But when they landed at the private airstrip, Emily's professional pride bristled again. "I still think a co-pilot should be entirely focused on flying, not personal responsibilities." Ryan smiled gently. Captain, would you mind if I shared something? Emily folded her arms, wary but intrigued. Go ahead. Ryan reached into his bag and pulled out a small set of documents. He handed them to her without comment. Emily scanned the papers, her eyes widening in disbelief. Wait, these are the ownership papers for this aircraft? She asked, her voice a mixture of shock and incredulity. Ryan nodded. Yes. This plane, it's mine. I personally ensure its maintenance, hire the best crew, and oversee every flight. Emily's mouth went dry. The man she had been silently judging all day, the single dad, the distracted co-pilot, was actually the owner of the very jet she was commanding. She felt a wave of embarrassment mixed with astonishment. I didn't know, she stammered, trying to regain her composure. Ryan chuckled softly. Most people don't. I prefer to be evaluated on skill, not status. Flying has always been a passion, and my children, they give me purpose and perspective. I make no compromises when it comes to safety or professionalism. Emily felt a warmth in her chest, a combination of relief and newfound respect. She had judged him hastily, letting assumptions cloud her judgment, something she prided herself on never doing in the cockpit. And yet, here was Ryan, proving her wrong not through words alone but through actions. I apologize, she said, her voice quieter than before. I judged you unfairly. Ryan smiled. No apology needed, Captain. It happens. We're all human. The remainder of the flight back was different. Emily felt a subtle shift, a sense of partnership she hadn't experienced with any co-pilot before. They communicated seamlessly, shared insights, and even exchanged a few light-hearted jokes, a stark contrast to the tense, professional stiffness of earlier. When they landed safely at the terminal, Emily turned to Ryan. I've flown with many co-pilots, Ryan, but I can honestly say, you've earned my respect. Ryan's eyes softened. Thank you, Captain. That means a lot. It's not always easy juggling everything, but flying, it's my life, and I want to do it right, for me, for my kids, and for everyone on board. Emily nodded, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, trust. Not just professional trust, but a sense of camaraderie and understanding. She realized that sometimes, life experience outside the cockpit could be just as important as technical skill inside it. As they disembarked, Ryan glanced at her with a teasing smile. So, next flight, same co-pilot? Emily raised an eyebrow, a small smile tugging at her lips. We'll see. But don't think I won't be watching every move you make. Ryan laughed. Wouldn't have it any other way, Captain. That day marked the beginning of an unexpected partnership. Emily learned to balance her perfectionism with an appreciation for life beyond the cockpit, while Ryan continued to prove that dedication, love, and responsibility could coexist with professional excellence. And for Emily, the lesson was clear: never judge someone solely by appearances, or by the chaos you imagine might exist in their life. Because sometimes, the very person you doubt most is the one who teaches you the most about skill, resilience, and heart. From that day on, whenever Emily boarded a flight with Ryan, she no longer saw him as a single dad co-pilot. She saw him as a professional, a passionate aviator, and, perhaps most importantly, someone who owned the plane, and owned the respect she had once been too proud to give. And in the cockpit, high above the clouds, there was harmony.